Sing.
Stephen. I'm just going to cackle. Whatever happened to chomps?
Hey party people, I've 12 here and welcome to the 4th Suburban Gooner podcast. As we said last week, we're now on iTunes. You can also listen on our website, and hopefully we're going to put the pods up on YouTube soon as well. We'll try and stick to half an hour as we usually try and fail. Nothing too formal, we just chat through some topics and have a chat just like we're at the pub, like Chris was, weren't you, Chris, before the Liverpool game?
Yes, I was at the pub and my
Where were
voice
you, Ben?
raspy.
I was at home, sad and alone.
You weren't sad for very long though with the result.
No, I was very happy. Very happy.
It was wicked, wasn't it?
Awesome.
Chris had a whinge at me because I was at the cafe instead of the pub, but after that result I'm going to the cafe and having a full English before every game.
Mate, the corner's the way forward. I had a beautiful Tony Adams. It was lovely. It was flaming lovely.
What was the one I had, Chris, when we went? It was the lamb one.
Dennis Bergkamp, is it? No, that's... I don't know. I had the Thierry Henry, which was the venison and red wine, I think.
Yeah, so they are good pies.
The middle-class man's choice.
They are good pies. Have you been to Pinebury Corner, Ben?
Yes, I have. I like a Lee Dixon.
What's the Lee Dixon?
Chicken balti.
He doesn't even know.
Oh, chicken balti.
Yeah, I was in there for an hour and a half once waiting for Chris.
You're stroking your chin, aren't you? Interestingly.
Interesting.
Balti.
And in my head, I'm imagining Lee Dixon eating a chicken balti.
Yeah. And then in some sort of semi-London, semi-Mancunian voice going, that was great, or something.
Well, you've just sworn now. Now we're going to have to change our iTunes.
Oh, I do it every week. I did it last week.
It's you that lets the team down.
Yes. Can't you just bleep it out or something? Or is
I might have to, because I haven't actually changed it yet.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Right,
anyway.
So today we're not going to talk about the Chavsky game.
Why not? It was such a brilliant game, and we all loved it so much, and we're all so happy to see Nicholas Bentner doing what he does best.
What was that?
Ouch.
What does Nicholas Bentner do best?
Look like he can't be...
Yeah, he was pretty good at that, to be fair. That's why we're not going to talk about it, because it was such a
Move
brilliant
on.
game. I'm going to, as I said, I've got a blog ready to go out about it anyway. We will talk about the Liverpool game, and where I'd like to start is Chris. You should be shocked for not mentioning Arteta in your blog today.
I know. I am actually really surprised when I look back on the actual highlights, because I often blog just trying to get things fresh in, like from the actual game live, and so I don't actually get to see the replay sometimes when I blog. And having now watched it again, I'm a little bit ashamed of myself. So there you go. Do you want that? Are you happy with that? My shame? Can you live with that?
I'm happy with your shame, but I didn't need to watch any replays. He was fantastic.
I was too busy being nervous and hoping that we were going to get the win, and just saying I'm not very good at the actual matches when it comes to tactical analysis. I'm just a bit like, flaming, go, get it in, just score.
Score.
Yeah, that's my sort of tactical analysis.
I get a bit violent as they're running towards the goal. I shout, "Smash their face in."
What?
I don't know why. Luke always looks at me like, "Why are you so violent?"
Maybe that's because Flamini.
You're like the most nicest man I've ever met.
Yeah, I imagine. Do you know what? It's funny, Ben. When he just said that, he said, "I get really violent." I thought he was going to say, "I say, oh, jolly rubbish people, you opponents."
Yeah.
I'm really rather not amused.
Yeah.
How did Arteta come across on the TV, Ben?
He was fantastic. Last week I was a bit sort of morbid about Flamini's exit and not being around, but he was just sublime. He was everywhere. He was the influence we needed, and he's clearly sort of learnt a few tricks from Flamini. You could see that Arsene sort of basically tasked him with sitting, breaking up play, and giving it, and he did it amazingly. I don't know what else you can ask for him.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking on the pod the other day about how Arteta's just going to have to settle for this role, this diminished role as a squad player. But you see games like yesterday, and you think, actually, if he's on form, he can challenge Firmini all the way. I'm not sure that he'd ever be as good in that defensive sort of breaking up, ball-winning way that Firmini is, or the sort of angry, shouty finger-pointing Firmini. He's not that sort of player, but he comes pretty close after performances like that, and it just shows you how much we missed him when he went off for Palace, and then also against Chelsea. We probably could have done with him just sitting in front of the back four, just marshalling the back four. But he had a brilliant game, and it's one of the reasons why we were able to negate Suarez and Sturridge, because they like to drop off and pick the ball up. They're not like Giroud. They're not target men you can lob the ball up to. They like to pick the ball up, turn and run at players. So if you've got a player like Arteta sitting in front of the back four, breaking up the play when that happens, like another line of defence, so to speak, then it makes a big difference, and it really helped us.
Yeah, big time. And I think what he does bring more than Flamini, like you say, he lacks more than maybe the defensive side, but creative-wise, he adds a bit extra. He played a couple of quality balls I think he put one across to Sanya. I'm wondering if it was for the Cazorla goal, actually.
Isn't it funny that last week everyone was going on about Suarez and this bullet header from the edge of the box that he scored from, and Cazorla was almost a carbon copy. It was this tiny little midget smashing a header against the post. Yeah. The only difference is that he managed to just get a second bite of the cherry and smash it home. So, yeah, eruption at our corner of the ground when that went in. So it was really, really good to see.
Brendan Rodgers is really small. They were shouting at him, "Brendan, where are your legs?"
That's brilliant.
I think he's obviously he spent so much time on his teeth and making sure that they look fantastic that he's not obviously not worried about his legs. Surely he should be investing in some sort of medieval like rack that can stretch him a little bit. I don't know.
What about Rosicky? I thought he had a great game as well.
He was brilliant. Do you know what? There were so many players that I just thought were really, really good. Like the back four were just solid throughout. Yeah. Arteta had a brilliant game. Rosicky was just his usual busy, hustle-bustle self. Ozil was a bit more quiet, I thought. He was a bit quieter than some of the other players. But Giroud as well, holding up the ball, bringing others into play. His game is fantastic. It's not just about a striker trying to get onto the end of crosses or headers or good finishing. It's about holding up the ball, bringing players into play. And sometimes, he can be as effective or more effective by leading that line and by dropping the balls off for our quite fluid rotational midfielder, which I think I'm going to spend most of this season constantly banging on about the fact that our midfield rotates so much. It'll probably change when we get Walcott and Podolski back and we've got a bit more natural width, but at the moment it seems to be working in games like yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. With Rosicky as well, there was a couple of people rumming on, weren't they? If Wilshere was fit, he potentially would have started ahead of him. But Rosicky on form and keeping him fit, which hopefully we'll be able to do if we can rotate him with some players, is actually a quality player, quality player. Good. And actually, I was looking at the injury list earlier, and it didn't mention Wilshere on there or Gnabry. So I'm wondering, that was on the Arsenal site, so I'm wondering how they're doing. Gibbs isn't on there yet either. Have you heard anything about Gibbs' injury, either of you?
No, I haven't seen nothing yet.
I suspect, Wenger say on Arsenal.com that it's only short term. Jack is only short term. He's not sure about Dortmund. He might be available. So I don't think they're too worried about that. Great. But Gibbs, he just said, we'll have to wait and see. If it's muscular, that could be a problem. But I was talking with an Invincible actually, because I met him in the Tollington on Saturday. And he and I were talking about how Gibbs and Monreal, how good can you get in terms of getting a backup? I mean, he's first choice because of the injury to Alba. He's first choice in he's been first choice in the national team for Spain. So that's the one position where one goes out, one comes in, and we're all probably thinking actually it might be good because it'll give Monreal a chance to shine, and Gibbs has then got a fight to win back his place, hopefully.
Yeah. Talking about Ozil having a quiet game, did that come across that way on the telly, Ben?
Yes and no, because it was sort of the first time, wasn't it, that Ozil and Santi, their sort of relationship, as you were, sort of blossomed. I don't know, I quite like that when he's not going missing, he's sort of drifting into sort of space and spreading the game. It's almost like his way of sort of like making the opposition sort of forget about him. And there was quite a few times that he was sort of out on the left, and he sort of would go and have a little conversation with Santi, and he would sort of, because who went off? Was it Gibbs that went off, and Vermaelen come on? Because then at one point in midfield we had Ozil was on the left. I can't remember, but Santi was on the right, and it was brilliant just to watch them. It was very Napoli-esque because we're sort of, obviously they were playing 3-5-2. We were stretching them. But it was strange. As in Napoli, we had the most success with these sort of very European formations. They just gave us so much room, and he had so much room just to sort of wreak his havoc as well. The balance of those two is ridiculous. Yeah,
Ozil's brilliant, particularly if you are a fan of like Barclays Fantasy League football or the Sky Sports one, because he could have a quiet game and then still gets an assist and can still score you points, and it's brilliant to watch. And the assist, the little dink over for Ramsey, and then his just sublime finish. It was just everything that you want to see when it's 1-0. It's a tight game. Second half. We're about 15 minutes into the game. Into the second half. We've ridden that first 10 minutes of pressure. And my dad that I was with actually said in the first half, the first 10 minutes, Liverpool looked pretty good, but the rest of the first half, it was all Arsenal. And for the first 10 minutes, Liverpool obviously came out. Rodgers had a word or two. He'd waddled into the locker room. Nobody could see him, so he's obviously got himself onto a little platform and then given them an inspirational, motivational speech, which lasted all of 10 minutes. And then we got back into the game. It was literally about 55 minutes we started getting into the ascendancy. Yeah. And then on 59 minutes, Ramsey comes out with an absolute perler. And it's easy to say now with hindsight, but that was effectively game over, wasn't it? Although Szczesny decided that he was going to, despite the fact he had a brilliant game, he decided that he was going to do a little bit of a crazy, mad Almunia moment and pass the ball to Sturridge.
I think he was fine. I saw somebody tweet, Cazorla played a 1-2 with the post, so Szczesny said, I can go one better and play a 1-2 with Sturridge.
Love it.
Awesome.
What did they say, Ben? What did they say about the actual performance of the team afterwards? Like, were they gushing at half-time, or full-time, or was the commentary sort of classic, this Arsenal team's a bit lightweight, and obviously we're just lucky every time we score any goal ever, and any game that we win, we're just very lucky?
It was very 50-50 because it was interesting. I don't know how it was actually at the game, but where Sturridge gets into the box and he just throws himself to the ground. And Gary Neville on the commentary, you could hear him sort of going to say, "Oh, he's dived," but then that whole England coaching role thing sort of quickly clicked in his head, and he went, "Oh, he's been tripped." And it was like, well, no, he's clearly just thrown himself to the floor, and it was very frustrating. But there was, again, Gary Neville would he'd say like Koscielny. It was brilliant, wasn't it? I don't know how it was from the ground, but his sort of charging runs, he'd almost sort of run up half the pitch just to go and rob the ball from Suarez, and then sort of go back into his little cave once he's done his job. But he was, it was strange because he would sort of say, "Oh, Koscielny's very tight. He's never 2-3 yards away from him." And then he'd go, "Oh, he's so tight. He's just going to get rolled." And it was sort of like half a compliment. He'd sort of throw it out and then take it away. But I think you just kind of got to forget about that because we just got to take a game at a time and just forget what they're talking about because they just you don't want to think it, but they just seem so biased, like against us, and it was frustrating.
Maybe we are just a little bit oversensitive, but I was driving home today from family stuff that I've been doing and back in Hertfordshire, and I actually listened to that radio station that's shall remain nameless that has that ginger bloke on it. And of all people, they had Stuart Robson come on, the man who is a detestable character for his quite blatant and personal vindictive hatred for Arsene Wenger. All of a sudden, he started talking about how Arsenal can actually win the league. And if I had a mug of tea, and I liked tea because I hate hot drinks, but if I did like drinks and I had a mug of tea, I would spit it out. But I'd be driving, so I couldn't spit it out. But you get my point. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that Stuart Robson was praising Arsenal, praising the players. He couldn't bring himself to actually praise Arsene Wenger, though, and he even admitted, I haven't had a problem with the players. I've had a problem with Arsene Wenger in the way that he manages the players. But I think even Stuart, in fact, at Piebury
Seen the
Court,
lights.
yeah, if at the end of the season we win the league, they should make a pie which is called the Stuart Robson, and its
Champagne.
interior filling is humble, because that's
My favourite.
that's what he's going to have to chomp on at the end of the season. If we've won trophies, or if we've even finished in the top two, I think he needs to have a little munch on that humble pie, really, and admit that Arsene Wenger has built a team, because you know Arsene Wenger's there to be criticised if the team aren't performing. So he should be applauded and rewarded and given all the plaudits if the team are performing.
Mm.
Ben, what do you reckon, Steve?
To ask you both a very silly question: can we win the league?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, we can.
We are already, just to quote an Ari Redknapp phrase, we're already down to the bare bones and we're still winning games. What happens when Podolski comes back, when Walcott's back? Nabry was out injured, Wilshire's injured. We've got, do I even count Diaby? No. That guy who basically is on the treatment table. I mean, Sonogo, we haven't even seen whether he's any good, but, you know, what, you're just saying, no, he's not any good, Ben? Or?
It was 50-50, but continue.
So we've got this list of injuries. Flamini's out at the moment. You've got so many players that are on our Ox as well. That's why we can win the league, because it's crept. It feels like it's crept up on me, but we have squad depth. The only thing we're lacking is a centre forward, and as far as I'm concerned, we're one decent centre forward. We are a Jackson Martinez or a Karim Benzema, or I've heard some people on Twitter today talking about Loic Remy, but you know he bangs in goals and he's on loan at QPR, and him to fight with Giroud for a spot up top. I mean, he's a different type of player to Giroud. He couldn't lead.
Certainly a class up from Bentner, though, isn't he?
Of course.
Very much so.
So yeah, that's what we win the league.
Yeah, I think we can. It's funny. I had a Chelsea fan say to me today, "I can't wait till you get some injuries." And I said, "Sorry," and I started listing off all the players that we've got injured. It's only then when you start listening it and not hearing it yourself, you think, "Wow,
yeah, exactly.
These players are going to come back." And because on the way back from the game, Stan Collymore was saying, "Oh, can Arsenal win the league with the bench that they had?" No, they can't, but they have got all these players to come back. So I think if we get those players back, and they should be back in the next few weeks, and do some business in January, we're in with a chance. If we're there or thereabouts in the new year, then you've got to start to believe that we could do it.
The only caveat that you'd have to add in is that we have got a lot of injury-prone players.
Yes.
Flamini, Walcott, Diaby, Sonogo, they're all injury-prone players. So it's all very well saying, look at the squad depth and look who's going to come back. But if they come back, play 4 or 5 games and then get injured again, you need to then start looking at, well, actually, do we have the depth because those players are injured half the time?
I suppose this season, though, because we've got, if you look at the Wilshire's and the Rosiskis, they shouldn't have to play that many games. If we're worried about them, they can have a rest every now and then.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is going to come over. In fact, it will come over the next week, because we've almost hit our injuries at the worst possible time, haven't we?
We've just entered the gauntlet.
And then Man United, and we're going to have to rotate. He's got to rotate, surely, because United and Dortmund will both be rotating with their respective domestic and European competitions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you see Dortmund at the weekend?
No. Were they good?
They were unbelievable. I sort of watched the game, and it's scary the football that they can play, and the players Aubameyang. Apologies for a dodgy pronunciation, but
that sounds like some sort of vegetable that you'd put in a curry, doesn't it?
The really fast winger, stroke attacker, stroke striker that they have, which could be one of 3 or 4 people, because they've got loads, haven't they?
Exactly, and that was what was scary. That was watching that was real sort of strength in depth. You sort of, because their normal sort of front 4, isn't it? It's Lewandowski, Royce, what's his name, Lazarkovsky, and
the guy beginning with M that has
Mkhitaryan. Is it Mkhitaryan? But then they sort of had Aubameyang, and it's Hoffman. And I was just thinking, oh my God, that's proper rotation they had going on. But they were sublime. They just I can't even remember who they were playing, but they put them to the sword, and it was ridiculous. And then we did what we did to Liverpool, so I hope they were watching us, to be honest.
Well,
So what do you think he'll do with the lineup then? Obviously Monreal, I presume, will come in unless Gibbs is fine.
I think that Monreal will be in most definitely. I wonder if Gibbs has got that. If that's muscular, and he could be out for 2-3 weeks, or even a month. So, and with Gibbs being the player he is, they won't rush him back. No. So I think we'll almost definitely get Monreal. Will almost definitely get the next month to stake a claim. Szczesny obviously in goal because keepers don't do a lot of running about, so he's not going to be knackered. Mertesacker, Koscielny. The thing is, he can't rotate in either of the games. It's not like we're playing Hull City at home on Saturday, and therefore you can play Vermaelen and Mertesacker. Because when Vermaelen played in the Capital One Cup against Chelsea, he actually did all right, I thought, and he didn't show any sort of signs of rustiness or weakness.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
But he was alongside. Was he alongside Koscielny?
Koscielny, yeah,
he was. And a lot of people have said about how it doesn't really work, but he did okay. I can't see him playing though. I can't see him playing against Dortmund or United.
No.
And you've got to play Sanya in both games as well. Go on, Ben. You run us through the midfield and the attack then, in your opinion, for the two games.
I was going to say as it was today. I don't know how you can change that
for both games.
Yeah.
What, even Rosicky, who's very, very
you got to play him. He was. Yeah, he's got to play. He was absolutely outstanding yesterday. What he offers, currently we don't have another player that can do that. The sort of dynamism he can bring to the field. I don't think we have another, obviously apart from Wilshere, but he's not going to be about. So he's got to play, in my opinion.
And he did that off the back of doing Bentner's running against the Chelsea as well. So
exactly, and that was what I was going to say about Chelsea. It was going to the game and because I'm watching it. It was worrying's the wrong sort of word. Is how we were sort of very reliant on Rosicky. And how old did you say was Chris? Did you say 33?
32 or 33, yeah.
Yeah, and it was quite worrying.
Can he play 3 games in a week? Is what I'm essentially getting at.
Well, he's going to have to. Who would you play instead?
Well, if Wilshere's back, I'd probably start Wilshere actually, but I'd push Ramsey forward into the front three.
Yeah, it's where he's better suited, isn't it, Ramsey? He lacks a bit of discipline and leaves Arteta very alone.
I don't know, Steve. I think he's better. He's better in midfield. He's a bit of a square peg in a round hole in the front three. Steve?
Oh no, I like him there.
I think I prefer him central midfield because if you have him in the front three, he's not going to be central because that's going to be Ozil. So I think I like him as one of the two. I know what you mean. He's not going to be one that sits there, but he works up and down.
Yeah, his stamina's ridiculous.
The other thing is, apparently Flamini could be back for United.
So, what do you reckon? What do you reckon about that United game then? Do you think Arteta to come out? Do you think he'll play with the double pivot?
Oh, it's tricky.
It depends what we do against Dortmund, I reckon.
It depends exactly, Steve. It depends how it goes, and because we need a result for Dortmund, don't we? We can't lose the game. At least. Yeah, a draw at least. We can't lose that game. So I don't know. It depends how it goes. If we win in Dortmund, would he continue with the same team again? Would he risk bringing in a not 100% Flamini? For say he plays the same teams he does against Liverpool and we win, would he risk bringing in a not 100% Flamini might that upset the swing of things?
Yeah, I'd say you have to only if he's 100%. But the thing is, I think he'll only play if he's 100% because Arsenal are because of the injuries that we've got. I think they almost go over the top in terms of their time frame. So they could probably get players back in 2 weeks. But they'll give them an extra week. So Podolski started running at the beginning of last week, and Wenger's even saying I'm not sure when he'll be back. His original scheduled comeback was end of November, so I think they'll probably bring it forward because he's made progress. But I still think he's touch and go for the United game. So that's 2 weeks worth of running his arse off. So I think we go over the top. So if Flamini starts on Sunday when we play United, that means he is 100% fit. And if he is 100% fit, then he's got to play.
Fair shout.
Yeah. Again, it depends on, and if you have Ramsey and Arteta next to each other against Dortmund and they do really well.
Mm.
I agree with the Wilshere one though. If Wilshere's fit, it might be an idea to, because he is good enough. You know, you're not taking a chance. It might be an idea to keep Rosicky fit for the United game.
True.
Or would you not do it the other way round? Play a more cultured Thomas Rosicky against Borussia Dortmund and save Jack Wilshere for Man United, running at that midfield where they are very, very poor.
Possibly, because Jack actually looked really good. He was one of the shining lights actually against Chelsea. He
and Jack,
close to his best.
He loves a United game.
Yeah.
And Dortmund love Rosicky, don't they? So it's
exactly.
a bit of respect.
So maybe we can get him to go and catch Marco Reus in a net and drag him back.
And then Sahin as well.
Yeah, bring him all.
Rosicky can say, if you don't actually go near me for 90 minutes, I'll sign a T-shirt for you. And then they'll all be like, wow, yeah, okay then. And then, you know, we can just give the ball to Rosicky and let him run at the defence and they'll part like the Red Sea. But do you know what's I'm really positive about the United game? Before Liverpool, everyone was talking about Suarez and Sturridge, you know, how are the Arsenal defence going to cope against them? But I think Suarez is still in Koscielny's pocket at the moment. I think he's trying to get out. Koscielny's obviously got one of those zipper pockets, and he's got it like padlocked. And Suarez is like, let me out. Otherwise, I'll bite you.
I'll bite you, but it doesn't matter.
Bite his way out.
Yeah, but Koscielny he could just take it, and that bodes really well up against Van Persie and what's his name, Rooney, because I think that's going to be another very, very tough challenge. And I think we'll react better than we did last year, where Vermaelen's just basically fresh air kicked the ball to Van Persie to score within a few minutes, and the game seemed almost beyond us even then. But this is a different Arsenal team approaching United now, isn't it?
And a different United team as well.
True. It's a Fergie-less team. So
I know they won at the weekend, but Fulham have been poor, haven't they?
Oh, God. Yeah. Do you see that guy, his stamp on the United
No,
club?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that was nasty.
Nasty. There's been Desena as well for Sunderland. There's been a couple of really nasty ones this weekend. No, but the guy got a yellow card, I think. So Desena was sent off, but the other guy got a yellow card. So
they need to do something like that. It's like, it was assault. He was down on the ground in the corner, wasn't he? And he just boots him in the back.
Yeah.
I thought I heard, I was listening to the radio on the way back, I thought I heard he didn't get anything for it.
Oh, didn't he?
So they could go back.
I'd like to think they do something about that.
Good. Don't need that in football. So.
No.
We were talking earlier about Ozil having a quiet game.
No, it wasn't. It was planned, Stephen.
I think it was planned. And actually...
planned assassination.
It's because they all mark him and they give space to everyone else.
Exactly. Yes. This is fantastic.
Did you see where I think it was Gerrard and potentially Lucas, where he flicked it over his head, ran round both of them and got it the other side? Oh. It was fantastic. And as we say, he got an assist as well. And him and Ramsey are both in my dream team, so it was great. But he's on the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or, isn't he?
Yes.
How good would that be?
Brilliant. Surely that's
like little girls.
Surely that's a sort of a bit of a redundant exercise, because surely it's just going to end up being Messi or Ronaldo or Ribery.
Yeah,
that's it. But it's nice to be nominated. It's great to know that he's an Arsenal player that's in that position. Yeah. And in a year's time, it'll be nice if it happens again, because that would have been a whole calendar year with him as an Arsenal player, as opposed to most of it being a Real Madrid player. And so it feels like it's almost like a bit of a it doesn't feel like it's not a hollow victory, the fact that he's on the Ballon d'Or, because he's still an Arsenal player, and we've got a player who's nominated for that, and we used to have those sort of players all the time. But most of it has been as a Real Madrid player. So, you know, I'm happy, but I'm not like shouting from the rooftops. So,
unless he wins, which you're right. It's going to be those three without a doubt. Have you seen the full list?
Yeah. It's a long list, isn't it? Why don't they just have 4? Just get 4. It'll be a lot easier for them. But actually, I probably know the answer to that, because if they only have 4, then it'll be a lot shorter ceremony, and they wouldn't be able to cream as much revenue from the evening ceremony or whatever it is they have. They probably need like 25 players on there, because what happens with these sort of stuff is the players will obviously want to book tables for their family and stuff. That's what I reckon. It's one of those things. Look, if we've got 25, 30 players on the Ballon d'Or, they'll all book tables, so we can make loads of money from it.
It's not 25. It's 23. I've just counted.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I'm sure they can all afford a table or two for their families.
Well, yes.
Or 9. A solid gold table.
But there's the unfortunate thing that Dutch guy's on it as well.
Yeah, him. He won't win it anyway, so
Boo. Hiss.
boo to him. Boo, hiss, and get out of my mind, you dirty skunk.
Right. Before we close off, I've got a question that I posted on Twitter.
Oh,
after
have
the
you,
Liverpool
Stephen?
game.
How interesting.
I do.
Please. Won't you regale us with this question so that we can pause for about 5 minutes, because you've not given us any chance to actually think about the question, and we give you a really rubbish answer.
I don't think you'll need to pause. The question, and I'll tell you the kind of answers that I got as well after you both have answered it, is, after all the rigmarole of people moaning after the team selection for the Chavsky game, would you swap the defeat against the Chavs for the win against Liverpool?
Chris, 3, 2, 1.
No.
No. And thankfully everybody said no.
I'll tell you what would be interesting, though, quickly. Ask us the same question in 3 months' time.
If you're out of the league and, you could have beaten Chelsea and then had a nice run to get to a cup final.
Yeah, I agree. The here and now you'd say no, but you might change your
In the
mind.
long run, you might sort of change your mind.
But the confidence that would have done for the team. Because the other thing as well is you can sort of palm off the Chelsea game as, Capital One Cup, eyes aren't exactly on the prize, and he rotated a bit. And look, we were playing Bentner, so we basically gave them the match. We forfeited the match as soon as the ponytailed one got into the pitch. So, the Liverpool team lineup was the strongest possible side, and they won well.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, was that it then? Are we wrapping up? Can I go and have my Tom Yum soup?
I'm trying to think of a way just to delay it a bit longer so your food can get even colder.
Right. Well, it's heating nicely in the oven, so it won't get colder. So there, blah.
Ben, I'm sure that's going to sound beautiful in people's headphones.
I hope it does.
You whistling so loud that it perforates eardrums, and dogs from a 2-mile radius come running towards people who are listening to the pod.
You're definitely hungry.
Yeah.
Right, anything you want to close? Any closing remarks from you, Ben?
Yeah, just something I noticed, it might be pointless, but it was our vulnerability from our attacking set pieces. When I went to the Villa game with Chris, that's how they did us on the break. And then against Palace, we got done from that, and that's how Arteta got sent off. And it was just interesting. Are we pushing too many men forward, or is he leaving the wrong men back? But I will be keeping a close eye on that, and a real report back next week.
Yeah, I think keep an eye on it. I think the bounce was unlucky when Sturridge or Suarez, one of them, tried to get away. The other thing that annoys me is we seem to be, we do have that vulnerability, but when we're defending, we don't put anyone like on the halfway line for corners. So we don't do the same for teams. Say when you've got like a Walcott in your team and you're defending a corner, just shove him on the halfway line and oaf it as hard as you can.
We'd get a lot of counter-attacking opportunities for that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Ben, keep an eye on that and report back. Anything for you, Chris?
Not from me, Gav. All done.
Cool. Okay. Until next week, guys. Suburban Gooners out.
See ya.
Peace out, homeboys.